Welcome to our class tonight. We are in the third and last of three chapters of judgment on Pharaoh. And we got to chapter 32, verse 7. Remember the first part of the chapter compares him to a young lion and then to a crocodile who was paddling with his feet all the streams and was stirring up trouble. But he says he was going to throw him out on the land and all the birds would pick his corpse clean as he died out there on the land. That's verses 5, 4, 5, and 6. And that brings us to verse 7. And I want all of you to stretch your memories a little bit back to Revelation as we look at some of these verses. Verse 7. And when I, Yahweh, extinguish you, that's Egypt, I will cover the heavens and darken their stars. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. All the shining lights in the heavens I will darken over you, and will set darkness on your land, declares the Lord God. I will also trouble the hearts of many peoples when I bring your destruction among the nations, into lands which you have not known. I will make many peoples appall at you, and their kings will be hardly afraid of you, or afraid, should be probably more accurately, because of you, when I brandish my sword before them, and they will tremble every moment, every man for his own life, on the day of your fall. So Pharaoh is presented here as a bright star up in the heavens, which, comparing him to other earthly kingdoms, that would be appropriate, I think. And when God extinguishes him in the political sky, it seems like the whole heavenly host are lamenting his fall and are shrouded in darkness because of what has happened to Pharaoh. They are sympathetic toward him. And of course, we read in Revelation of the same idea with the fall of Rome, if you will remember. And it's common that in the Bible, these great military and political disasters, and the grief which is connected with them, the heavenly lights then appear in this kind of language to be extinguished. Did this literally happen? No. It's a cosmic, heavenly idea of the fall of Egypt compared to the other kingdoms in the world. And you'll notice in verse 7, he says, I will darken their stars in the night. In fact, in my invitation, I mentioned the 10th plague in Egypt, which was the Passover. The ninth one, does anybody remember what the ninth one was? Darkness, exactly. Exodus 10, 21 through 29. So I think that was appropriate. But this phenomenon, or use of this sort of language to discuss the fall of a great power, and I think we went through some of these in Revelation, but by way of reminder, Isaiah writes in 13:10, and this is concerning Babylon, check it yourself, for the stars of heaven and their constellations will not flash forth their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not shed its light. Almost the same idea as we read in Ezekiel 32. Now in Isaiah 34, it's concerning Edom, and it's down in verse 5. So their slain will be thrown out, and their corpses will give out off their stench. And we just saw that idea with Pharaoh. And the mountains will be drenched with their blood, and all the hosts of heaven will wear away. The sky will be rolled up like a scroll, and all of their hosts will wither away, as a leaf withers from the vine, or as one withers from the fig tree. For my sword is satiated, or satisfied, in heaven, Behold, it shall descend for judgment upon, and here's the person, upon Edom and upon the people whom I have devoted to destruction. So don't let this language confuse you. It always talks of the fall of a very important nation, and sometimes it involves important people. Yeah. And Revelation, here's the passage in Revelation, see if any of you remember it, concerning Rome. When I looked, when he broke the sixth seal, this was the first round of the seven, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood, and the stars of the sky fell to the earth, as a fig casts its unripe figs when shaken by a great wind. The sky was split apart like a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island removed out of their places, all of them describing a similar idea. Any questions on those? And there's a few more, but these are the major ones. Let's see, let's go back to verse 9. I will also trouble the hearts of many peoples when I bring your destruction among the nations. That's a little bit difficult for me to understand. Probably the many other nations includes some nations unknown to Egypt who would be terrified at the destruction of that empire, is possibly all I can come up with on that. Or it could be a strong expression for the broken and shattered people of Israel, who would then appear among the nations as a picture or memento of the disaster which had befallen them. Some people think it's the news of the disaster which has spread, the destruction, the news of the destruction. It's hard to say. But anyway, the next verse describes Egypt's destruction in some a little bit more realistic and easy to understand terms. Verse 11. For thus says the Lord God, the sword, he's explaining that cosmic verse we just read. The sword of the Lord, of the king of Babylon will come upon you. And by the mighty swords of the mighty ones I will cause your hordes to fall. All of them are tyrants, or ruthless, or terrible, of the nations, and they will devastate the pride of Egypt, and all its hordes, or soldiers, will be destroyed. I will destroy all of its cattle from the side of many waters, and the foot of man will not muddy them anymore, and the hooves of beasts will not muddy them. Then I will make their waters settle, or make their waters clear or deep, and I will cause their rivers to run like wool, declares the Lord God. So we have here a picture of desolation where there is no creature seen to be around to muddy up the streams, to foul them anymore. And they are said now in verse 14 that they will settle, that is, all of the, what's the word? That's been stirred up, the mire and the muck that has been stirred up will settle to the bottom, and the waters will once again be clear and deep and useful for the people. To run like oil, that phrase has to do with the people and the cattle who are considered a nuisance that kept the water from getting the rest that it needed so it could settle down and clear. And their removal will allow her streams to clear, to become peaceful, and to become undisturbed. That's how devastated this land is going to be, because there's not going to be any humans or any animals to stir up the muck and the mire and the streams anymore. And that's the whole point of the verses. Let's see. Verse 15, stop me if I'm going too fast. When I make the land of Egypt a desolation, which is what was just described, and the land is destitute of that which filled it, I will smite all of those who live in it, and they shall know that I am the Lord. This is a lamentation, and they shall chant it. The daughters of the nations shall chant it over Egypt and over all her hordes or soldiers. They shall chant it, declares the Lord God. Now the daughters of the nations, in verse 16, why is that so appropriate? Who normally sang the funeral dirges? The women. In fact, in the larger places, they had a higher group of ladies who did that for a profession. They were professional mourners or lamenters, and they would be called out to sing at the funeral dirges of the people in town who had died. And that's why he says in verse 16, the daughters of the nations will chant it, that is, the lament. I would love to have heard some of those firsthand. I'll grant, almost be sure that they were as sad and as mournful as anything we've probably ever heard. But I guess we don't have any of that preserved. Since this was 2,500 years ago. So, we don't have any of them.
Not like New Orleans.
Not like New Orleans?
No. What is it they have, the second? The second line, yeah.
The second one.
Yeah. It's a jazz, it's like a jazz.
Oh, okay.
When you go into the cemetery, everybody's just all sad and mournful. It's the worst day in ever history. Once that line is gone,
It's party time, when the body's been. Okay.
Well, you don't remember that thing.
Oh, God.
I just want to make sure.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't want to go by without asking you.
Okay.
Since that's not even.
Verse 17. New paragraph. New prophecy 2 weeks later than the one previous. In the 12th year, on the 15th of the month, I'll give you a little formula up there to make it easy for you. You start with 597, minus 12, 12th year, and you come up with 585. And all you got to do is, when you see the year, that's how long it's been since Jehoiachin and Ezekiel were taken captive. Trying to make sure everybody understands that. The word of the Lord came to me saying, quote, Son of man, wail for the hordes, there's that same word again, and bring it down, it being Egypt, and her hordes, her and the daughters of the powerful nations to the nether world, with those who go down to the pit. Whom do you surpass in beauty? Go down and make your bed with the uncircumcised. They shall fall in the midst of those who are slain by the sword. She is given over to the sword. They have drawn her and all her hordes away. The strong among the mighty ones shall speak of him, and his helpers from the midst of Sheol. They have gone down, they lie still, the uncircumcised, slain by the sword. The scene now shifts to the grave, or the pit, or Sheol. Because that's where Pharaoh's going to find himself. Like I said, 2 weeks after the last message. And the language here, again, is highly poetical, and we don't need to read too much into this about the state of the dead, about what happens, so take it with a lot of salt. And in this chapter, part of the chapter, Sheol is envisioned as consisting of compartments where nations lie grouped together, their king at the middle, grave, and all of her army and officers in graves surrounding her, the king. Their common sin is violence, the way they treated other nations. And Assyria was one of the worst. So it shouldn't surprise you that she is going to be named first. And the way they explain, or Ezekiel explains the violence, he uses the term, they put their terror in the land of the living. In other words, they scared other nations to death with their horrible reputation of brutality. Verse 18, he uses the terms, wail for the hordes of Egypt and bring it down. Now that is addressed to Ezekiel. Ezekiel, bring it, the nation of Israel, down to Sheol, and as I understand it, is by uttering this prophecy. Egypt, yes. By uttering this prophecy, you will bring Egypt down to the grave. Of course, we know behind that that's really God's doing. But the prophecy is so powerful and so sure that he says, Ezekiel, bring it down, her and the daughters of the powerful nations, and it's those named in verses 22, 23, and 24, which we will be getting to soon.
Is this addressed again to the women, because the women were the wailers before, because all the men had been killed in battle, and now the women are also to be taken too?
Her and the daughters of the power. It could be, yeah. It could be. Okay. Verse 19, the Lord is addressing Pharaoh and said, in essence, who do you think that you are? Who do you think you are, the most beautiful of nations? Did Pharaoh have a problem with pride? Of course he did. All of those eastern kings were arrogant and just disdainful of everybody else except for themselves. And you run across this term uncircumcised, and that usually refers to the pagan nations or people who are polluted or people who are unacceptable to God. And that's why we find them together in Sheol, which is Hebrew for the grave, together. Now in verse 20, let's see here, let me get that. They shall fall in the midst of those who are slain by the sword, they being Pharaoh and his hordes. And notice that Pharaoh's hordes or people will not die a natural or common death. What kind of death will they experience? A violent sword, a violent death. Why? Because that's the way they have treated other people, other nations. Draw her, again, verse 20, let's see, they have drawn her, that is, down to the grave, all her and all her cords away, down to the grave or into Sheol. And verse 21 is a general announcement by the graves, and I like this term, welcoming committee, that Egypt has arrived and that they have taken their place with all of the other nations, great nations, violent nations that had preceded them. The strong among the mighty ones, one translation has mighty chiefs, or the mighty leaders, or warrior leaders. They shall speak of him in verse 21. That is, they will give him welcome there, as now you are one with us. He and his helpers would be those who were Pharaoh's allies. The first nation mentioned as part, this one may be the chairman of the welcoming committee. Assyria is there with all of her company. Her graves are round about her. All of them are slain. That's how they died. Fallen by the sword, whose graves, in her case, are set in the remotest parts of the pit, and her company is round about her grave. All of them, and I'll just paraphrase this, have died a violent death because they spread terror in the land of the living. In all, there were 6 nations on the welcoming committee, and Assyria is the chairman of that committee. So, Ezekiel now describes for us what somebody called a rogues gallery of evil nations and leaders with which Egypt will now take her place because she is like them. She committed the same sins that these other nations had done. And all of her company, princes, soldiers, common people, allies, mercenaries, all of her group. Now looking at verse 23, it talks about the remotest parts of the pit. It's hard to tell whether we're talking about the graves that are on the extremes around the edges or the graves that are the deepest. But either way, you could say that they are the most remote graves in Sheol. The NIV has depths, and another translation has the deepest regions in the pit. And I think this may point in the poetical picture here that there seems to be a degree of punishment, at least in the assignment of graves. And we will run across it in just a minute, if I don't run out of time. But the general character of what is represented is clear. Assyria and her people not only have gone down to the pit, but as being the deepest in guilt, and I mentioned it just a moment ago, she was the most savage. They have their graves appointed in the farthest edges or the deepest graves in the pit. Not a very pleasant picture. Verse 26, we get Assyria's other 2 people. Sir? Please. Oh, did I turn 2 pages? I sure did. Elam is there, and all her hordes around her grave, all of them slain, fallen by the sword, who went down uncircumcised to the lower parts of the earth, who instilled their terror in the land of the living, and bore, here's another idea, bore their disgrace with those who went down to the pit. They have made a bed for her, making great provisions. Around among the slain with all of her hordes, her graves are around it. They are all uncircumcised, slain by the sword, although or because their terror was instilled in the land of the living, and they bore their disgrace with those who go down to the pit. They were put in the midst of the slain. I thought I had a map with Elam in it. But I didn't mark it, and I apologize for that. Elam is over there. Right in the northern tip of the Persian Gulf. Is it Iran now?
Yes.
Part of Iran? It is?
Yes.
Okay. It's close to that Kuwait, isn't it?
You're in Moss.
Sir?
You're in Moss.
Okay. Verse 26. Meshach and Tubal. Let's see, I think I've got those on the map here. Meshach over here is northern, what is in New Testament times called Asia Minor, now called Turkey. Tubal right there, not far from, and by the way, we will be coming across this particular group. Thank God, when we get to chapter 38 and 39. There's God, and they are bad people. Bad people. Let's see. Meshach, Tubal, and all of their hordes, are there. And here we go again. It's a lament, repeated or chanted, and more likely. Their graves surround them. All of them are slain by the sword, uncircumcised, though, or because, or for, they instilled their terror in the land of the living. Nor do they lie beside the fallen heroes of the uncircumcised, who went down to Sheol with their weapons of war, and whose swords were laid under their heads with honors. I added that. But the punishment for their iniquity rested upon their bones, though the terror of these heroes was once in the land of the living. But in the midst of the uncircumcised, you will be broken and lie without honors with those slain by the sword. Looking at verse 27. The other warrior empires that came down to the pit, or to the grave, descended there with their military equipment on. That's the way it's seen anyway. But Meshach and Tubal met with an even more humiliating end. They rest among those who have been stripped of their arms. And for a soldier, that's a disgrace, a warrior. It was a very ancient practice in different nations to bury a warrior's weapon in the same grave with him. But it says here, nor do they lay beside the fallen heroes who went down to Sheol with their weapon. They were not included in that. They were not part of that. They didn't share in that, so they had an even more disgraceful portion in heaven in Sheol than the other folks nations who had gone down there with them. But, let's see, verse 28. But in the midst of the uncircumcised, you will be broken and lie with those who are slain by the sword. The you there in verse 28 is Pharaoh. That's who it's being addressed to. And you will have no honorary distinctions paid to you at your death. Some did, but he won't. Question? Do you discern there a difference in layers of some get the bad parts and some get the good parts, although I cannot imagine in my wildest dreams there being the good part in Sheol or in the pit. But anyway, let's see. There is also Edom. Now, where's Edom located?
West of Israel.
Extreme southwest. Yeah. I think I've got a map. The purple one is Edom, right below the Dead Sea. Now, who is Edom? Esau. Who is Esau? Jacob's grandmother. Okay? And she is going to be singled out for 2 solid chapters of condemnation in just a couple of weeks when we get there. I think it's chapter 34, 35. I don't remember exactly. But, and it will tell why she is going to experience the punishment she did. There is also Edom down in the pit. Its kings and all of its princes, who for all of their might, which didn't help them, are laid with those slain by the sword. They will lie with the uncircumcised and with those who go down to the pit. Same thing repeated. Another group, there are also chiefs of the north, all of them, and all the Sidonians. Now, what is strange here is Tyre is not mentioned. And we had 3 chapters or 4 devoted to Tyre earlier, who in spite of their terror resulting from their might, and shame went down with the slain. So they lay down uncircumcised with those slain by the sword, and bore their disgrace with those who go down to the pit. Sorry, I didn't have Sidon is the orange. Oh. Well, it's the orange arrow. That's where Sidon was, just right up the coast from Tyre. The chiefs of the north probably include Syria, up there called Abram in red, probably that area up there. And Edom, in verse 29, her destruction has already been talked about in chapter 25, and will be talked about again. In verse 31, let's see, I don't think we looked at verse 31, have we? Yeah. These Pharaoh will see, when he gets down to Sheol, he will see all of these 6 other nations, and he will be comforted. Even slain by, for all his hordes, slain by the sword, even Pharaoh and all of his army, declares the Lord God. Though I instill the terror of him in the land of the living, yet he will be made to lie down among the uncircumcised with those slain by the sword, even Pharaoh and his horde. So he was going to have the miserable comfort that he was not alone. A misery loves company. And he will find out that his nation, Egypt, is not being singled out for any special punishment. He'll get down there, and after the welcoming committee says, we're glad to see you, he will look around and say, they experience the same things down here that I am going to experience. Any questions? I think that's the end of the chapter. Yeah. Any questions? Because I hope we get out with great next Wednesday night. By the way, if you like, never read it, I think it's in Isaiah has a chapter very similar to that one, taken from the perspective of the grave. Any questions? Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for this beautiful day you've given us, for the blood of Jesus that shields us from the wiles of Satan and gives us the salvation that we so desperately need. And help us to always remember that the blood is on the door, and that was at the cost of his precious life. And help us to emulate him as we go through this week. It's in his precious name we pray. Amen.